Siegel. Thank you, Pete. The controversial documentary Vaxxed was dropped by the Tribeca Film Festival last month. The film going after the CDC for allegedly manipulating data from research on vaccines and autism, a link which researchers have debunked time and time again. The filmmaker was on our show yesterday and says critics are getting the message all wrong and wants the viewers to watch and decide.
We have tried to convey to people that this is not in any way an anti-vaccine movie. It is reporting upon a fraud in the CDC, the nation's foremost health agency.
This is about corruption.
It's about corruption, absolutely. Please see this film, make up your own mind. Do not be persuaded by journalists who've written without ever having reviewed the film.
Dr. Mark Siegel of the Fox News Medical A-Team saw the film and is here with his thoughts. Dr. Siegel, thanks for being with us. What did you think of the film?
Well, I think the film is like seeing the movie The Revenant and then going into the wilderness and figuring out how to survive. In other words, it shows something that's very, very distilled, and I think people should have a big background in how vaccines work and that they're safe and that they're a big huge public health discovery before they see a film like that. Having said that, if you are fully formed your opinions and you know what you're doing going into, I have no problem with any film. But it focuses on a single child, and it gives the impression that this child got autism from vaccines. There's absolutely no proof of that. That's been studied time and time again, and people out there need to know the difference between a small group that may have an increased susceptibility to a vaccine versus proof. That's not the same thing.
What is that small group?
Well, what he talks about in the film is that African-American boys in 2004 showed a slightly increased risk of autism if they had received that vaccine. That doesn't prove that the vaccine caused autism. What it says is maybe we need more genetic studies. Maybe we need to look at the genetics of people to say who can take a vaccine and who can't.
All right, well, let me tell you this. I was watching the interview yesterday when Steve was interviewing both of them. The mom that you see in the film in the red shirt and the blonde hair, her son is taking the textbook and hitting it on his head. She said that the moment her child got the MMR, the measles, mumps, and rubella shot that morning, that afternoon he was in the hospital having convulsions, and he has never been the same since, and now he's 20 years old. As a mom, I heard that, and I thought, my child had the shot, she didn't have the convulsions. Thank the good Lord that I didn't have to go through that. Parents out there watching feel the same way. And for moms who are pregnant, do they give this shot to their child?
Well, I say absolutely, because you're talking about emotionalism here. And by the way, I've written a book about this whole issue. Emotions are to be taken very seriously. But that's not scientific proof. You know what's scientific proof? Dr. Paul Offit at Penn says that children are exposed to over 1,000 viruses every day in much more potent form than you get in a vaccine. Could certain children be more susceptible? Yes, but measles has killed millions of people around the world.
Right.
And
that's
it's 90%.
Exactly.
If you have measles, 90% chance the person next to you is going to get it. We're stamping it out with this life-saving vaccine.
Should we just wait a little bit longer to give that shot?
That should be studied, and I think the real message here is the CDC and all scientists should be saying over and over, what's the risk of the disease we're giving the vaccine for? When should we give it? Certainly we need to give it before school. That's the key point, because in California, kids that are going to school that haven't been vaccinated are now seeing a resurgence of measles. CDC needs to look at that every single year. How many vaccines am I giving? What are they for? How many lives are they saving? And when in the development of the child should they get it? That's not the same thing as we heard yesterday. I know Dr. Wakefield.
Yeah, you know him well.
I know him, and I think he's been targeted. I think some of what's been said about him is completely unfair. You know, he was voted worst doctor of the year by Time magazine. I don't find him that way. I think he's very legitimate, but I think he tends to sensationalize things. And that's the last thing we need when it comes to vaccines, because you're putting something foreign into your child and you worry emotionally. They're very safe, and they've saved millions of lives.
All right. Well, you went to medical school. I did not, so I trust you.
I trust you, too.
Thank you, Dr. Siegel.
Good to see you.